Today we are going to move forward into 5.1. Remember, your test is only over chapter 4, so this is a new section, a new chapter. But we're going to go ahead and move forward since we can't take that test until we're back on campus. So chapter 5 is all about geometry. It's actually called the Foundations of Geometry. So when we talked with 7th grade about this, you guys were all involved and you were super excited. You were like, I know what a point is, I know what a line is, I know what an angle is. So you're going to do well in this chapter. So geometry is defined by your book as the study of the properties, measurements, and constructions of both 2D and 3D figures. So 2D figures are what I draw on the board, whereas 3D figures are more of the things that you see every day. So the things that you can pick up, my paper towels, your books, a box from Amazon Prime if you do a lot of Amazon shopping, all the different stuff in my classroom that we can touch, that we can see, that are three-dimensional. Those are examples of 3D things. So when we study these figures, we can actually better understand why God made certain mathematical properties. And I think it's really cool how you can see there is such an order and a design to certain things. The fact that the earth is spherical is very important. We talk about that in earth and science when we get to that science, which Mr. Jones will teach you guys next year. Well, which Mr. Jones taught you guys last year because you're the 8th grade class. But when we get into all these different things and all the different ideas of the shapes, you can see how God really did design our planet. And it ends up being pretty awesome when you pay attention. So, Greek mathematician Euclid actually wrote about what he discovered while he was studying these different shapes. He had a 13-volume book called The Elements, and it is actually still used today for geometry. So I have a couple of the shapes drawn up here. I actually am going to, the video is going to jump in a second because I can only fit 4 and I'm going to put 4 more up in a second. But I'm going to show you how we name them and what exactly they are. So we've got point, line segment, and ray. So a point is just simply a exact location in space. It's just that point right there. That's where I'm going to be. So it is listed, it is written as point A. So it'll just get labeled point A. Pretty simple. You just tell me point A. A line, as you can see, this is a line. We usually deal with line segments, but I'll get to that in a minute. So a line can be written as AB with the arrows on the edge of the lines over top of it, or when it's got just a letter for it, you can write that as line M by the letter. That's how it can get written. When you're dealing with a line segment, again, if it has a label, you can write it as line M, but for the most part, you're just going to write it as CD with line over top of it. Okay? Pretty cool. It tells you on top what these things are. Rays are exactly the same. Both of these, if you'll notice, X, Y, with the arrow going over the Y, both of these are written the same as XY, with a teeny tiny little version of it over top, with the arrow over top of whatever side the ray is going off in. So since the ray is going off in the direction over Y for both of these, both of them are listed as ray XY. Okay, I'll be right back with another 4 things for us to go over. The next 4 things we need to learn about are angles, intersecting lines, parallel lines, and perpendicular lines. So I am going to write how we name these and how we talk about these. These 2 lines over here become very important because we're not just learning how to label them, but we're also learning very important facts with them. So with an angle, if you guys saw me helping 7th grade with this, there are 3 ways to label an angle. It has 3 different names. The first one is labeling it by its vertex. So the vertex is this point right here. And that is where the 2 rays meet, because if you'll notice, this is 2 rays. This is ray BA and BC. These end up forming the sides of the angle. Okay, so these are the sides. Okay? We can label this by its vertex by calling it angle B, or we can label it either ABC or CBA, as long as we make sure the vertex is in the middle of the angle name. So angle ABC or angle B or CBA. Okay, notice the vertex is in the middle for both of those. So we need to make sure that the vertex ends up in the center if we name it with 3 letters. So for most important thing with angles is if you have other lines coming off of here, you're going to want to use one of these 2 names instead of labeling it by its vertex. Because if you have adjacent angles and it asks you which 2 angles are adjacent, and you just say angle B and angle B, we don't know which side of angle B you're talking about. But that's something that we talk about when we get into the adjacent angles some more. And we're going to cover that later in this class. So if you're still confused with that, don't worry. Just know that an angle has 3 names. It is either labeled by its vertex or labeled by the 3 letters of the rays that form it. Okay? Intersecting lines. Intersecting lines just intersect. They cross each other at one point. There is no label for them, but you need to know that they cross or intersect at a point. Like I said, there is no way to label it unless you want to say intersecting lines A, B, and D, C, or CD, but your book just says there's no label for it. So I'm going to leave it like that, but I may ask you to say which 2 lines are intersecting, in which case you'll have to say A, B, and CD. Okay? Moving into parallel lines. So parallel lines are always the same distance apart. They never meet. So I'm going to put those 2 notes down here. Never meet and always the same distance apart. Okay? So they never meet, they're always the same distance apart. This can be written as well with the symbol 2 lines. So it looks kind of like a slanted 11. And you would write this as AB is parallel to XY. Okay? Do not forget the parallel symbol. Okay? It looks like 2 slanted 11s. I say okay a lot, I'm sorry. It looks like 2 slanted 1s or a slanted 11. When we move down to perpendicular, you can see I've talked about this before with 7th grade. It's an upside down capital T. Now, perpendicular lines actually meet at right angles. So they meet at right angles, otherwise known as 90 degrees. And you simply write this by saying AB is perpendicular to XY. Very similar to the parallel lines, you just simply change the symbol. Now, do not forget, these never meet and these meet at right angles. Perpendicular always meets at right angles. Parallel never meets. Intersecting lines can be at any angle. That's why they don't exactly have a label for them, because they can do funky angles if they want to. So here we have angle, intersecting lines, parallel lines, perpendicular lines. Okay, I am going to have you guys please turn to page 1. I turned to the wrong page. I want you guys to turn to page 188. So your homework, 5.1. I would like you to do numbers 1 through 6. So this is just simply labeling them, 1 through 6, and you're going to hold onto this for me, and you will turn this in. So that is page 188, numbers 1 through 6. Page 188, numbers 1 through 6 in your homework.